Hi there, this is Anna from Anna Aspinus Designs, and today I want to share a video with you about my brand new ArtPlay Palette Patience Collection. Typically I would write an inspiration post on my blog, but today I thought it might be fun to just look at a few of the products in detail and then look at a number of the layout designs that have been created by the Anna Aspinus Designs team. So let's first of all take a look at the collection. I've got a bunch of previews here. This is the entire collection. So the core collection is the ArtPlay Palette Patience with the Multimedia Document 7, which happened to be my favorite component of this collection. We have a coordinating artsy template, some mask elements that can be used with the clipping mask function in Photoshop and Photoshop Elements, and these coordinate perfectly with the Artsy Papers that are found in the ArtPlay Palette Patience. Then we have the all-important word art, which you can mix and match to provide context to your digital scrapbooking pages and photo artistry designs. And then if you purchase the collection, not only do you save 48% while it is in its introductory period, but you also get this fabulous bonus ArtPlay Palette collection. And this includes an element, some additional word art, it's got this bonus artsy paper, and then I've also provided you with 5 different layout designs to give you some inspiration, more inspiration for using this collection. In addition to the bundled collection of products, we also have the companion sets, which include the artsy cards. These are a variety of card style products delivered in both layered PSD and JPEG format, and they come in 6x6, 3x4, and 4x6 sizes. They're really perfect for the photo-inspired template series, which is loosely based along the lines of an artsy style project life template. And then they also work really well within the frames of the other templates in the Anna Aspinus Designs range. We also have the Artsy transfers, and these are a layered version of the transfers that are found in the ArtPlay palettes. So you can see these blended transfers have varying areas of opacity, blending, color, and texture, but they're only included in PNG format, whereas the Artsy transfers happen to be delivered in a layered format. So this means that when you open the transfer into your version of Adobe, Photoshop, or Elements, you can see that you can manipulate these layers by turning off the visibility of the layer. You can rotate the layers, you can resize the layers, you can move the layers around. You can also adjust the layers using the tools in Photoshop, such as making them darker, or you can make them brighter using the levels control. You can also go into your hue and saturation and play with adjusting the color profile of each of the individual elements within the Artsy transfers. So these Artsy transfers are incredibly versatile and can be used in many ways to create your digital scrapbooking and photo artistry pages. So before we go ahead and take a look at some of the pages that I have to share, I wanted to just look at some of my favorite elements in this particular collection. So I've already mentioned I really love the multimedia files. They are delivered in 2 different zips, and you can see that I have organized those files into folders. This is because we have a flattened sort of 1-layer PNG version, which you can just drag and drop onto your layout designs. We have the layered PSD file for the Adobe products. But if you're working in another photo editing software program, then you can use these individual files. They're in order and you just layer them up in your preferred version. And all of these elements are designed to coordinate with one another. So you can see that this is a layered file, meaning like the Artsy transfers, we can turn off the visibility of the different layers. We can select layers and rotate them. We can make them smaller. We can move those layers around if we want to. We can recolor them. All of the fun effects that we can apply in Photoshop. And these coordinate perfectly with the ArtPlay palette paperies, which are also a favorite of mine. So you can see that we have the different paperies that are included. There are 4 different Artsy papers. These are pre-designed for you to add your photos, and this particular collection also includes the photo blends files. So essentially, if you select a paper like this one, for example, this is number 2, coordinates with the number 2 multimedia element. I'm just going to go ahead and just turn these elements back on. You can select all of those layers, and then with the Move tool selected from the Tools panel, you simply drag and drop those elements onto your canvas, and you can see that that fits quite well. And then if I go ahead and I take a look at the photo blends, which are also a favorite of mine. If we go to File 2, so we've got Artsy Paper 2, we've got Photo Blends 2, and we've also got the Multimedia Element 2. Again, these are delivered in a single PNG file, a layered PSD file, and then you get the individual elements that create that particular clipping mask. So I'm opening the Photoshop file. There's 5 different layers. So I'm going to select those by holding down that Shift button on my keyboard. And then with the Move tool selected from the Tools panel, I can go ahead and I can place that. So notice how perfectly that mask fits with our design. And then you can go ahead and select that Photo Blends layer, select an image, and then drag that image on top of that layer to create an instantly blended photo. So if I were to go and access my photo files, I'm going to go and bring in this image of Ella, graduation photo, and then drag it into my Photoshop and drag it directly onto my canvas and click the check mark to accept that transformation. Now, because I had the Photo Blends layer selected in the Layers panel, that image is going to be directly deposited on top of that mask. And we want to make sure that the photo is about the same size as the mask, but it fully extends the edges of that mask. Something along the lines of that. And then you're going to go to Layer, Create Clipping Mask, and then you can move the photo around to find the best fit for the image. And you can see that this particular area here with the hipster plume is impinging on our image. So I'm going to just duplicate that layer, drag it up to the top, and go to Layer, Create Clipping Mask, and that is going to also clip that image to that decorative area. And maybe we'll do the same for another image. So you can see we have this area here. You can either turn that off if you want to and have the image like that, or you can go ahead and clip that image. So it's kind of worth playing around to see what you like best. I personally prefer it without, so I'm going to turn that layer off. And this just goes to show how flexible these clipping masks are, these layered files, and also how easy it is to use these elements to instantly blend a photo into your layout design. Then of course you only really need to go ahead and add context to your page. So I'm going to go back to our Patience release, and I have provided some fabulous word art that you can mix and match to bring the whole thing together. So you might want to use one of these word transfers, for example. We can drag that in and place that over the top of our layout design. I could even add it onto this area here like this. We could go ahead and apply a blending mode such as darken so that it blends a little bit better. We can then go back and maybe bring in one of these titles. So maybe One Step at a Time is an appropriate title for this particular page. And we can add this on the top here. We can bring it here. I kind of like it like that. You can bring it down here. Nice diagonal coming down from the left here. And so I'm going to leave it there. And then of course, just go ahead and add your journaling. We can go ahead and manipulate this. I'm not liking how this text just comes over this element area here. So I'm just going to select the eraser tool with a soft sort of brush and just erase that in a little bit, just to make sure that the text doesn't extend off the edge of that envelope. And we can call this a completed design at this point. So let's go and take a look at some of the other layouts that my talented design team have created. I have put a few aside. I say a few, there's quite a number here, but I thought I would go through and perhaps talk about some of these and see if we can get inspired by using this collection. So this one is from Adrienne, and I really love how she's used the textures here. She sort of layered up all of these different files to create a foundation to which she has applied her blended photo. She's then connected this area of visual interest with a small area on the left here where her journaling is sort of partially hidden but resides. And I really love this sort of diagonal that is happening with the artistry and the context with our focal point in the center. It's sort of sandwiched together. I also like how she's used the stitching to stitch or adhere the element to her layout design. And then we've got this one from Michelle. Love this, of her and her husband. And I really like how she's created her own custom multimedia element by modifying the elements and adding additional embellishments from the bonus set. I also like how she's added a stroke layer style to the wooden word to give it a slightly different effect. This next one is from Mikey, and a really nice touch to sort of blend this image in the top here. I also like how she has used the frame, removed the mask part of that frame and used it to draw focus to her title. I also think she's very effectively used this element twice by modifying the element to create some slight variation. Notice too how she has added some of those elements beneath her multimedia document element and also on top of it as well, which gives visual interest. This one's from Jerry. She loves to make pages using her animal and bird photos, and this is a really great idea. I'm not sure if this is a partial photo of a horse or if she's purposely put this multimedia document across the nose of the horse, but I think that it would be a great approach here to mask any missing features from an image because the image was composed too tightly. But I also think that this adds a sort of shyness component and feeling to this design. Notice too how she's muted the colors of these elements and used them to create a focal point for her quote, which in this case resides in place of a title. The next layout is a heritage page by Nancy, and I actually discussed this one in great detail in the recent AA Connect 5th of April 2021. The replay is currently available in the store at Anna Aspenas Designs, and it gives a breakdown of this layout to show a sort of deconstruction of how this piece was put together. This next one is by LeMay, and she is renowned for her minimalist style artsy pages. I really love how she has got this really skinny, thin design, and she has bridged the two parts of the artistry with one of the multimedia files. I think it's very effective to have this white space here connecting the darker areas of both the image and the brushwork. Michelle has done a wonderful job with the template that I created. If we go ahead and take a quick look at that, let's go ahead and bring that into our workspace. You can see what the original template looks like. But you can see here that we have the foundation where you can put a background paper, you can switch out the title, and then you've got all of the individual layers that make up the artistry in the background here. So again, you can turn off these layers, you can recolor them, you can rotate them, move them, add to them however you see fit, and then some fun little frames here to which you can add your images. So if we head back to those Patience layouts, then you can see that she has actually added in her focal image on the outside of the focal area. I always think that where you have the artistry is the focal point, and that would be the obvious place to blend your image. And while she does have a smaller scenic image blended into the background there, her focal image is definitely the one of her to the right hand side here. I love how she's placed the butterfly in her hat area, and she's added a very fine stroke layer to her title to make it stand out. And she does a lovely job of these clusters. When you don't have enough photos to fill the frames, then she chooses to use either the Artsy cards or the Artsy Papers to add some visual interest. And then she's created this custom cluster, which has all of the good things about clusters. It has the foundation, the focal point, and then the embellishment and context, which I talk about a lot in the Create Custom Clusters classes. The next two are by Diane, and she scrapbooks and creates photo books at 8x10 format. So this is actually a double page. I thought this was really neat how she had blended the frame into one of those elements. And then this one was particularly striking with the use of the paper textures that come in the collection to contain both of the sets of images. This one is from Luann, and she of course is a digital artist more so than a memory keeper. She has taken a portrait of a woman and she's extracted the background, and then she's embellished it by placing transfers and elements both on top of her image and also behind her image to provide depth. Really lovely touch, having this butterfly looking like it's flying out of the hand here, and the very dainty touch of the resized lace embellishment and urban threads that are sort of tied within her hair. Notice too how she's used the transfers and the paper textures to adorn the clothing of her subject and also the cuffs of her sleeves. So lots of really fun details there to get stuck into. Viv created these two pages. I love how she has used the photo inspired templates. So these are sort of linear templates that have distressed masks, and they're very blocky with lots of frames. So it allows you to either add photos or artistry into those frames. And Viv does a lovely job of creating these art journaling style pages simply by using the digital art supplies and the words that come within each collection. She's also supported that with quotes of her own. So I really like how she's tucked the embellishments sort of behind to give texture, and then she's used the stitching also to add texture, and then context obviously through the word art. Another heritage page here using that Artsy template foundation. This time, instead of using those small frames as Michelle has done, she has removed them and replaced them with the multimedia element. I believe this is number 1, and I love how she has extracted one of the subjects of her photo, and it kind of looks like she's extending and kind of peeking out from that frame, which is a really nice touch. Another layout here from Michelle, wonderful use of textures to draw the eye and create continuity. And these, of course, stand in contrast to the linear nature of the frames. Again, she is using very little imagery in terms of photos in these frames and using them more as an element to showcase and draw the eye to the words in her design. I really like how she has aligned the stitching with the top of the truck or the lorry here. It's really effective design approach. And then this one is also from Viv to very classic design. I like how she's used the multimedia element with one of the different papers. So even though these multimedia elements and the photo blends are designed to coordinate specifically with one another, there's a lot of scope for mixing and matching and making the different components work with different supplies in the ArtPlay palette designs. I believe this is the first paper and this is the second element. She's also added to the cluster in that element to beef it up a little bit. And again, she's used that common technique of adding a white stroke and a drop shadow to the text to allow it to stand out. And it's also very effective to use this approach when you are placing a flatter element over a more dimensional one. I also love how this sort of curve here follows the lines of the curve in the F character of the script font. The photo, of course, is applied to one of the Photo Blend's clipping masks, which allows it to blend quite seamlessly into the background. And then this double page spread is from Michelle. I love how she's recolored the supplies. You can see that there are a lot of pink, yellow, and orange tones to this collection. The idea was to potentially have something spring or Easterish with perhaps vintage undertones. A lot of the AA community are very much into ancestry and bringing their older photos back to life, but it's equally as good for the more modern images as well. But I love how Michelle has taken her own spin on this, and she's recolored those images to coordinate with some coastal images that she wanted to add into her layout design. So she also recolored some of the elements as well. So a really great way to use the tools in Photoshop or Elements to repurpose the designs to better coordinate with your images. And she's done very much the same with this one here. Lots of blue undertones, but she has kept some of that color, and that really adds some visual interest and draws the eye. I love the pops of red in the design, creating a sort of a visual triangle. And then finally, we have this one from May. She has that classic white space. Even though white space doesn't have to be white, it allows the eye to rest. And I love how she's used blending modes to apply those multimedia elements to her design, and the brushwork is also very clever too, creating sort of a skyscape for her aeroplane focal point. She actually submitted this layout at the last minute. I just received this one, and this is an awesome use of the Artsy cards. So she's used the Artsy cards with a drop shadow layer style to add some dimension, and then she's added some of the transfers over the top. She has also got her multimedia element with her focal point placed over the top of the image there. This would make a great print or perhaps a greeting card. So hopefully that has provided you with some ideas on how to use this collection. It's a really great collection. I think it has a lot of versatility in terms of being able to carry you from spring into summer, where hopefully we're going to get some nice sunshine and some days outside. At least that's the hope, and if not, then we have plenty of photos from previous years to work on. If you have any questions about this collection or about Anna Aspinall's designs in general, please don't hesitate to contact me. I have put several links in the information below that have been mentioned throughout this video, and I have also added in my email address there too. Hope you enjoy the artistry, and I am looking forward to connecting with you again soon. Take care.